Hello, everybody. My name is Irina. I've been living in Jamaica the last 7 years. And today I would like to run a very interesting stream with some special guests from Ukraine who are Jamaicans. And I'm originally from Ukraine, so that's going to be quite interesting. I'm just waiting for some people to come and just test in the sound. Right. Hello, everyone. Just let me adjust the sound to make sure I'm not messing things up. Right, so this is good. Right. Okay, how is everything going? I hope everyone is enjoying themselves and everything is going well. And good morning to people in Jamaica and Americas, and good afternoon to people in Europe and I suppose in Asia, if there is anyone from Asia. So, how are you all doing? I see that there are quite some people watching the stream now. Let me just check. 63 people watching. Okay, fantastic. So, actually, we're going to have more than one guest today. But first, I would like to introduce Owen, who is a Jamaican currently living in Ukraine, and he's been there for quite a few years. So let's see what he's got to say first. So I'm adding you to live stream on. Oh, it's in Ukrainian shirt.
Hi,
hello,
Irina.
Owen. How are you, my friend?
I am good. How are you?
Right, fantastic. It's great to see you, man. All right, so I hope a lot of people are here to welcome Owen. Thank you so much for being able to join this stream. I really love your the Ukrainian national shirt. In case you guys are not aware, this is Ukrainian national shirt, and this looks so good on you, man. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
It's really cool. All right, welcome, Owen. I'm sure everybody's dying to hear so many things from you, and we're going to have a second guest soon. But first, Owen, can you please introduce yourself and tell us where you are from and why you are in Ukraine?
Okay, so good afternoon, good morning, good night to everyone who is listening, who is watching. As Irina said, my name is Owen, and I'm originally from Jamaica, Kingston, well, St. Andrew to be more specific, St. Andrew, Jamaica. And I am in Ukraine because I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, and education here was cheaper than it was, or than it is back home. Yeah. Where is Irina?
Yeah, tell me more about you. Like when you came to Ukraine, when was it? When did you come to Ukraine?
I came here in October of 2016. Yeah, October 22nd, 2016.
Okay, all right, fantastic, fantastic. And so why did you choose to go to Ukraine?
I was at a point in life where I had finished my degree at IRIE and I was working, and I was wondering what the next step was. I've always wanted to do medicine. In Jamaica, as most persons know, it is a bit expensive. And using the word bit is a bit of an understatement because it's very expensive. I heard about Ukraine to a friend at church and I applied, I got through, and I decided, why not? It's Europe, so it has to be a good opportunity.
Is it Europe? Have you been to other countries in Europe first? Have you been to other countries in Europe?
Last well, not 2019 Christmas. Yeah, 2019. I went to Poland and to Spain, and it was quite enjoyable. It was really good, really good.
All right, but Ukraine is pretty different from the rest of Europe, I guess.
It is a lot different than the other European countries. The mentality, I'm guessing, because of the whole post-Soviet era and everything, it has a completely different atmosphere than other European countries, but it's still Europe.
All right, yes, sure. Well, you know what? It's interesting that, Owen, you are not there alone, are you?
No, I'm
in
not.
Ukraine. You have other Jamaicans there. How many Jamaicans are there?
There are approximately 26 Jamaicans here. 22 are in Kharkiv, the city where I am, and about 4 in another city called Kivrograd.
Okay, right. So 26 Jamaicans in your university?
In my university, there are about 5 or 6. There aren't a lot of us there. The others are in the medical university, and we have 2 persons who study, well, one studying tourism and then another studying, I think, graphic design. But most persons here are studying medicine. Oh, and one girl doing pharmacy and dentistry. I'm not hearing you.
Okay, before we move on to other questions, I would like to introduce one more person on this stream who is going to join us, who's been really kind to do that as well. And let me try to add him to the stream and see what happens. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, the other way. Hello, this is Tarek.
Oh.
Come on, if you can, yeah, hello. Let me remove myself. So,
Clearly.
Tarek, tell us about you. Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Tarek. I'm from Montego Bay in Jamaica. And I'm here in Ukraine studying medicine as well.
All right, this is brilliant. You do have a little echo, so maybe if you can, you need to move your phone a little this side. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Maybe if you can like turn off the volume of things so that you don't have the echo going. So when did you come to Ukraine, Tarek? Yes, sure, do that. Are you in the next room?
I arrived in Ukraine a week after Owen did.
Okay, so you've been there for quite a while too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, this looks good. This looks good. All right. So the question to both of you, maybe if Owen can start answering first, how difficult was it for you to get a visa to Ukraine for a Jamaican person? How difficult was it?
Getting the visa wasn't, in itself, it's not a difficult process, but getting information to know how to apply for the visa, that is the problem, because many persons in Jamaica don't even know where Ukraine is. To make matters worse, we don't have an embassy in Jamaica. So to apply for the visa, I needed to get my CSEC high school diploma and CAPE results. I had to get them authorized or authenticated by first the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, and then by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And then I had to send the documents to the Jamaican embassy in Washington, who then did another level of authentication. And then they sent it to the Ukrainian embassy in Washington, and they did the final processes and approved the visa. Overall, it's not a difficult process. The problem was getting information on how to go about applying for the visa because the embassy was not in Jamaica.
All right. What about Tarek? Was it easy for you too to get a visa?
The process,
Or
as
difficult?
Owen said, it's actually much easier for us as Jamaicans. Yeah, it's actually much easier for us as Jamaicans to obtain the visa because for us it took like probably after having gone through the whole authentication process and sending the documents to the Jamaican embassy and then from there to the Ukrainian embassy, that took like a week. Whereas compared to countries like Nigeria or Ghana, where it takes like a month, or even Egypt, it takes a month for these persons to get through with a visa. And we have not really had much or had any denials for the persons who have been coming here from Jamaica compared to there, where the denial rate for a visa is very high.
All right. A very quick question from me personally that wasn't in the list of questions, but you are both very rich Jamaicans, right?
Definitely
No.
Definitely not.
No, come on.
Rich in
For man
spirit.
to study in Europe, you must have lots of monies going on.
No, the most expensive thing about coming to Ukraine is actually buying the plane ticket because cost of living in Ukraine is so low. Like, I kid you
We're gonna
not,
get to the cost of living
we're going
soon
to
with
get to
our
it, but cost of
questions.
living is so low. So you don't have to be rich to come here. The most difficult thing would probably say the plane ticket or housing for the time that you're here. But food, electricity, everything else, it's
Yeah. We'll get to this in a moment. So, Tarek, you are from Montego Bay, and I'm now in your hometown in Montego Bay. And tell me, was it easy for you from Montego Bay to relocate to Ukraine? And what was your first impression when you came to Ukraine?
All right, so as I said earlier, I came a week after Owen did. So when I arrived, he'd already found an apartment because we were roommates, and the building outside it looked very deplorable. So I was like, "Yo, where's this ghetto that we're going to live in and all of that?" But then the outside and the inside are quite different. They're opposites. So it was much more different, and it was more having seen the outside and then going inside, I felt more comfortable compared to the whole thing. Yeah.
All right. What about your impressions, Owen?
my impression when I just came, I was a bit turned off if I'm being honest. When I got to the airport in Kharkov, usually companies have some advertisements all about, and most of the advertisements were in Russian or Ukrainian at the time, but they had a few English advertisements. And the advertisements had some huge spelling errors and grammatical errors in English. And I was a bit turned off because this is one of the first things that visitors see when you're coming to the country. So I think that it should just be well represented. But outside of that, as Tarek stated, with the buildings, the outsides, they do look a bit choppy, but the insides are usually pretty nice.
Yeah, this is one of the things we're going to get to the difference between Jamaica and Ukraine. And actually, the way housing looks is a drastic difference. Like the whole concept of how housing looks in Jamaica and Ukraine is like completely the opposite. In Ukraine, we would usually have buildings looking horrible from the outside, but inside they're more or less good. And in Jamaica, sometimes we have the other way around. They would look like palaces outside, and then you walk inside.
The inside is horrible.
It's true. No, because like sometimes I walk in Jamaica looking at building thinking, oh my goodness, these must be some really rich people living in that palace. And you walk in, it's just a simple house, So it's pretty cool. All right. Okay, brilliant. Now, so the impressions, Owen, you said that it's because of spelling errors, you mean in English? Like where it
Yeah,
says
in
like,
English.
welcome to Kharkiv or something.
Yes.
Well, as you know, English is not particularly a language in Ukraine. And the fact that I can speak fluent English is only because I studied in England. If I lived in Ukraine, maybe my English wouldn't have been, and if I'm now making mistakes, you see, because I'm
No,
Ukrainian.
that's
I
that's
have an
that's
excuse.
understandable, but like I think if you're having something at the airport, then it doesn't hurt to have like you have several apps that can do spell checking or several
Okay.
programs that can correct the grammar. It just sends a bad message.
It's true. It's true. But then, that's the thing. In Kiev, I think it's much easier, but in Kharkiv, it's a little bit different. Before we go on to the next question, let's finish off with the language barrier. What was it like for you, the English-speaking and Patois-speaking people? Let's start with Tarek this time. Tarek, tell me, what was it like for you as an English Patois-speaking Jamaican to come to Ukraine where people are Russian Ukrainian speakers?
It was very difficult to begin with. Before coming, I had tried starting out, trying to help myself with Duolingo. So I tried learning some Russian words and everything, but then being immersed into everything, being unaware of it. So you have one thing being told by this, being taught by the app, but then when you actually come into reality, it's a totally different scenario because how you pronounce words is not the same how they actually pronounce it in reality. So I'll be talking to someone trying to get directions, for example, and because I'm not pronouncing it properly, Russians Russian speakers, they don't understand it. So if it is that you do not construct a sentence in a particular way, or if you don't say something in a particular way, then they won't understand it at all. So that was my major problem. Yeah.
Mhm. There is a little comment coming here, like asking us if we could speak in Ukrainian, okay? So parts of Ukrainian should be with subtitles. No, look, guys, I cannot add subtitles during the live stream, so it would be difficult. But as I know, you guys don't know Ukrainian, but you've studied Russian.
Будь ласка.
Oh, good, Tarek. Good job. Tarek just said "Будь ласка," which means you're welcome. Like, that's fantastic. Any other Ukrainian words, go on.
Шановні пасажири.
Що?
Шановні пасажири, будьте уважні. Станція Держпром.
Oh, that's good. All right. Can you say something? Okay, but you studied Russian, right?
Yeah, we studied Russian for 3.5 years. So even though we're living in Ukraine, even though we're in Ukraine, in my city, most persons here speak Russian. So the university thought it was important to teach us Russian.
Yes, that's another thing that people don't know maybe, but Ukraine, because it used to be a part of the Soviet Union, right? A lot of people speak Russian in Ukraine. So it's like the same kind of reason why a lot of Jamaicans speak English. Yeah. It is actually a very sad reason. Ukrainian language was prohibited at some point. It was viewed as the language of the poor people. So a lot of people didn't want to use it. And then within the time, well, once Ukraine became independent, it suddenly became like the main thing. Everybody has to speak Ukrainian. Of course, it was very difficult for people to, restructure their mind and start speaking. Like, I know Ukrainian, but I would consider Russian as my native language because all my parents spoke Russian. And now you are in Kharkiv, which is a town in the east of Ukraine, the northeast of Ukraine. And I think majority of people in Kharkiv prefer to speak Russian than Ukrainian. If you were in the western part of Ukraine, it would have been completely different. You would have probably heard a lot of Ukrainian going on. So there's a big difference in that. Okay, before we go on, you know what I want to do? I want to see if I can share a screen, all right, with you, showing where actually Ukraine is located. Look at that. All right, so I have this. All right, so I mean, obviously everybody can open a map, but just so you know, guys, we are in Ukraine right here. All right, it's a huge country. It's actually the biggest country in Europe, and the town Kharkiv is located right here. It's a big town. It's a really big town. What's the population? Let me see. You guys know the population? I have no idea. It's actually 1.4 million. It's just one town. So the population of Ukraine is 48 million people. So it is a big country. Now, compared to Jamaica, we have population of like 2.9 million now, but there are, of course, more Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica than there are Jamaicans in Jamaica. I don't know if you're aware of that, but that's the situation. All right, so I'm going to hide this so we have that, and I would like to have us like that. So this is good. So yes, with the language. Now, I wanted to go through comments again. People are talking about war in Ukraine. They're saying that, you left the beautiful Jamaica, sunny Jamaica, and beautiful da-da-da. Actually, we've got rain right now. What do you know? All right, but to go to a country that is torn by war, do you feel that there is something going on? Owen, tell me.
You hear about it in the news. The war is mostly confined to specific areas. Fortunately, it's not in my city. I think there is still war in Crimea and there's war in Donetsk. But where I am, there is no war. I actually do feel safer than I do feel in Jamaica. So there is war, but I am really not affected by it. And I don't think most foreigners are affected either.
What about Tarek? Do you hear about war going on in Ukraine? Because there is war in the eastern part of Ukraine, and you're in the north, so you're quite far from the events, but still.
Yeah, the only war that I usually hear about is the conflict that is occurring in Donetsk region. which is an ongoing conflict with the rebels and that fight for territory and sovereignty, I guess. And then there's the other thing down south with Crimea. But separate to that, there's or if it
And
is
then yeah.
happening, then I don't really hear about it because it makes no sense. Let me not say it makes no sense. I don't necessarily follow Ukrainian news like that. There are certain channels that I would follow where I would get some information that is more central to like Kharkiv or the capital, but in terms of general war information, not much.
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, I actually don't watch the news at all. I mean, when I turn on the news about Ukraine, it's all bad. I don't watch the news in Jamaica either, to be honest, because once you turn it on, it's all about crime. I mean, there is no proper news in Jamaica. So there is one channel I do watch. I'm lying. I'm actually lying. There is one channel I keep watching all the time. It's called Good News Jamaica. And the guys keep pushing info about all the awesome things that are going on in Jamaica. That one I know. And that one I really love. So in Jamaica, we have this channel. I wish Ukrainians had something like Good News Ukraine. I should create one. I think this could be good. I also want to mention there are quite a lot of people ask the question about racism, and I see them typing it in in the feed and so on. We will get to that question, guys. We will get, I promise. We're not getting into it yet because it's a long story, but we'll get to it on question number, I think it's like 17 or something. Anyway, it's coming up, so please stay tuned. All right. Now, the next question I have for you, though, is as tropical men, two of you, how do you cope with the weather? Okay, maybe Owen go first.
It is or was, no, it still is a hard adaptation for me because growing up in Jamaica, we have plus 33, plus 34 all throughout the year. Coming to Ukraine, I came here in October. When I came, it was already bitterly cold. I came on the Saturday night, and the Monday it was already snowing. It took
you
some
enjoyed
getting
it,
used
right?
to.
You were like, yeah, snow.
I
I've been
was
waiting.
excited. I was excited. I love to see the snow, and then the cold hit.
For how long did you like to see the snow? 5 minutes out, from the inside of your home looking through the window there.
No, like throughout my first year, I enjoyed winter because I was living in an apartment. So when it was snowing, I was either inside or in school, and I didn't have to shovel the snow. After first year, I moved to a house. So when it snows heavily now, I have to go outside early if I have school, create a walkway to get to the road, and then walking from the house to the bus stop, I oftentimes fall. A lot.
Yeah, it's actually the ice. Like for me in Ukraine, the ice was the worst. That's what people don't realize. Like when it's snowing, it's not a big deal. But when everything is covered with snow and you walk on the road and it's slippery, I mean, you can break your neck easily. What about you, Tarek? What was your experience with the weather? Have you adapted?
I have adapted. I actually don't mind winter because I don't know. Weirdly, I'm not a sun type of person. So whenever it starts to snow, I get very excited. I love snow. Yeah. I love being outside in the snow. The only thing I don't like after winter or during fall is when you have that period where the snow melts and everything becomes very muddy and mucky. I don't like that part.
Oh, that's another thing I personally hated about weather in Ukraine is when you have these, the piles of dirty snow along the roads. When you walk along the road and you have you can't even come out of a taxi or the car because there's a pile of dirty snow. And the snow is being clean. It's just that it keeps piling up. And but now it's May. It's probably the most beautiful time in Ukraine. What do you think, guys?
It should be the most beautiful time. Last year it was.
It's not.
Unfortunately, this year I don't know if it's global warming or what, but we've been having constant rain.
Oh yeah?
We have constant rain, and the temperature still isn't above 25. Like today, I think today's 22, and a week ago it was 18, it was 10. So we still haven't started feeling warm as yet. because of the temperature, most of the flowers still aren't out in their full colors. But Ukraine, well, Kharkov being the city that it is, you have persons going out and actually planting. But in other years, at this time, it was very beautiful, very, very beautiful.
Exactly. I think, like, when I go to Ukraine, I try to go in end of May and June. Then everything is blooming and it's just so like fresh, bright green colors, pretty much like in Jamaica all the time. Yeah. All right, Tarek, what's your experience? Is it like, do you like May and June in Ukraine, or what's your favorite season?
Yeah, I actually do, because this is when you get to, I guess Ukraine is always a place where they're always displaying things. So Christmas is a display season with all the decorations for Christmas and everything. Everything is themed, but coming from spring to summer, this is when they showcase their major talents in terms of aesthetic presentation. So Kharkiv, I can speak about, definitely is a very beautiful place in spring, summer. They have themed designs for their floral arrangements. They have things all around the place. It's just very welcoming. That much I can say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. So
very
if any
simple.
of the
And then
people ever come into Ukraine, they should come May or June. That's like that's the best
May, June.
time to travel to Ukraine, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few questions here in the chat that I want to address. Well, first, very important questions. Are Russia and Ukraine the same country? It's actually, well, Ukraine used to be a part of the Soviet Union in the same way as Russia was the part of the Soviet Union. But of course, because Russia is such a huge country, right? It, like, everyone would call like Russia, like, associate Russia with Soviet Union. These would be interchangeable words. And the same thing happening with the UK. When people talk about UK and England, they kind of associate these as the same things, but they're not. This is Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. They're completely different. Yet when people refer to the UK, they just say England. So the same thing with Ukraine. Well, it happened with Ukraine in the same way. People were referring to Russia as the Soviet Union. So when Soviet Union broke up, all these 15 countries actually were formed after the Soviet Union broke up. So, but a lot of people outside of the former Soviet Union world, they still don't recognize the differences. So from what you know, guys, like, what do you think? How big is the difference? Is there a difference between Russia and Ukraine? Have you had experience, people thinking that you live in Russia because, you know, because of this confusion? Owen?
All the time, my family home, my friends home, I will tell them I'm in Ukraine, and the common question is, how is Russia? And I'm like, I am not in Russia, I am in Ukraine. But if there is a big difference between Russia and Ukraine, I'm not sure. I've never been to Russia. And a few of the, because like when I go to the market, they, instead of saying hryvnias, which is the local currency, you hear them saying ruble, which is the Russian currency. But
yeah, it's left from the USSR. It's still left because in USSR we had rubles, right? Okay, rubles in English, I think they're called rubles. Yeah. So, but now I have one more question from a Ukrainian or Russian. I don't know, Denis. Is the pressure hard for some foreign students? Maybe Tarek, if you can address that. Your microphone is off.
In terms of pressure, what type of pressure? That's the thing. What is pressure? Because
yeah, you know, like maybe foreign students are treated in a different way than Ukrainian students, for example.
In terms of the treatment, I think foreign students are treated differently, sometimes more harshly than the local students, and it often takes a lot for us to get certain things done. So that in terms of pressure, we have that type of thing to deal with. It can be very frustrating at times. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I find that it can be difficult because of the language barrier as well. And also because of understanding the cultural aspects of having to give little presents to everyone to have things done in Ukraine. You know? I don't know if you know. We're going to talk about it in a moment. Right. So let's go some positive stuff. What do you like about living and studying in Ukraine? Owen, tell me, what do you like?
I like, first of all, freedom. I am able to make my own decisions, and thank God I had good parents who grew me up properly, so I'm able to make smart decisions. But I do enjoy the freedom. I enjoy its Kharkov. Well, my university is like a cultural pot, so you get to experience a lot of different cultures because the international students they study different from the Ukrainian or Russian students. So I get to enjoy a lot of different ethnicities and their culture. I have a few classmates and associates from Africa, well, all throughout Africa, and that's good. I also enjoy, even though I don't like winter, I enjoy the ice rink that they have in the square. So every winter I will go skating like 2 or 3 times for the year. And this was not a skill I had in Jamaica. So I came here, I learned how to skate, and I found out that I actually like skating. Um, as it relates to studying, I enjoy being able to show my own strength. The education system in Ukraine and Jamaica is a bit different, whereas in Jamaica, you are provided with a lot more help to get through your studies. Here, it is more geared towards you propelling yourself. So if you don't have the inward drive, then it can be very bothersome and cumbersome. So the studying here, it has shown me that, hey, you got this, you can do this. What you need, the teachers here provide more of a guideline than they do main support. So you actually discover inward strength.
Okay. What about you, Tarek? What do you like about living and studying in Ukraine?
So in terms of living in Ukraine, Kharkiv, let's say Kharkiv because Ukraine
Okay,
is a
because you
burning
haven't
place,
seen the rest
and
of Ukraine. You've been mostly in Kharkiv. I see.
I
Right, right, right.
I've been mostly in Kharkiv. I've been to a few other cities, but I haven't spent that much time. So living in Kharkiv, it's quite an experience. That much I can say. There are a lot of things that I've been able to do here or enjoy that are not really available in Jamaica. Things like green spaces. This is one of the major things that I like about Ukraine. You have a lot of green spaces available, so you can always go and relax. If you need to go to the park, clear your head, you have that available to you. You have lots of outdoor gyms. You have a lot of activities that are um, family centered. So you can go to the circus if you choose to. You can go to an opera, ballet, something like that. You have different types of cultural activities that are available for you, and I really enjoy that. In terms of study, as Owen said, the system is one which it allows you to find your inner strength, and you realize that hey, if you need something to be done, you have to depend upon yourself and try to get it done, and just find your inner strength, do what you need to do, develop that drive, motivate yourself, and get to where you need to go. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I think one of the reasons why you have this kind of experience with studying in Ukraine is because you study in English, as I understand, right?
Yeah, we study in English.
So what about your teachers? Can they actually speak English?
Before I get to that, it would be remiss of me to say that I don't love the women in Ukraine. The women in Ukraine are beautiful. Okay. Um,
Yeah, we'll get to the
uh,
question about women in Ukraine in a minute, because it is true. What you're saying is kind of, with the universal standard of beauty, because of this, Ukrainian women were viewed as some of the most beautiful women in the world. I'm not a good example because I'm actually a little bit mixed, but most Ukrainian women look actually quite different from the way I look, and they act like their mentality is a little bit different from the way my mentality works, because I spent most of my life living outside of Ukraine. So you might know about Ukraine more than I do. So no, it's true. But we were talking about the studying, like the university system in Ukraine. You see, I studied in Ukraine in English and in Ukrainian language. And what I noticed is that because a lot of teachers are not particularly fluent in English, and that's why what they do, they just give you tasks. You know, whereas if you were studying in Ukrainian language, you would have these long lectures and then seminars with everyone, like, you know, going through every single point with you. So this depends on also what you study and also the subject. You're both medical students, right?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of medicine, by the way?
It's general medicine for now. The program is 6 years, and we are in our 5th year, so we have 1 more year left.
Okay, so you have 1 more year to go to become doctors. All right, I see a man saying, like, women, please don't go there, bro. No, come on, we'll get to that. It's an interesting topic. Come on, it's all experience. Just because we're not going to talk about something, it's not going to disappear. Come on. All right, now is interesting topic. Things you don't like about living in Ukraine. Come on, don't be too harsh. I'm Ukrainian, okay? So I can mute any moment now. All right, and I'm in control. No, I'm just joking. Come on, be as harsh as you want. Maybe Tarek starts first because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so one of the major things that I don't like about living here in Ukraine are beggars. So you have this particular set of people, these beggars. They're very persistent, and they usually have their children annoy you for money. So they will have you have this 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they're outside the university standing. Oh, I'm pregnant, give me money, and all of this. It's quite annoying. So that's one of the things that I really don't like about you.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's true. And there are actually, like, the groups of people who manipulate these beggars who go around and ask for, yeah, that's true. And also a lot of people, the poor people, you actually see them like that in your face in Ukraine. So that happens. Mm-hmm, that's true. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, people, anyway, we'll get to poverty and richness in a moment. What are the other things you don't like? Tarek.
I'll think about it and I'll get back to you in a minute.
Okay, maybe Owen, tell us.
Some of the things I don't like. Growing up in Jamaica is not just warm according to the temperature, but persons' personalities is kind of warm. Here, the citizens aren't that friendly, and so that was a big turn off for me. So, like, in Jamaica, you're on the bus or anywhere in the line or something, somebody wants to get by, they'll say, excuse me. Here in Ukraine, they will literally try to go through you. So you're standing in front of them, and instead of saying, excuse me, they'll push until you step out of the way. And it wasn't.
It's a cultural aspect, Owen. It's a cultural aspect. You don't, like, why ask a question when you can just, yeah, like, just.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, in public transport. But don't forget, remember, like, our public transport in Ukraine is usually so crowded, it's like packed. I don't know what it's like in Kharkiv though, but in Kiev sometimes when you go in underground, if you don't push, you know, like, you have the carriage is designed for like 50 people, but they managed to get like 200 people in there. And if you can't squeeze in, you just need to ask someone at the back to push you inside so that you can squeeze in. So that's the way. So I guess this is where it comes from. It's not because they're rude. It's just that but the truth is, a lot of Ukraine, they don't smile. You know, it's not viewed as culturally appropriate to smile at people. Like, if I walk around smiling, people would go like, what's wrong with you? Like, what? You know, one of the biggest culture shocks I had in Jamaica was to see people singing on a bus. I went in Kingston. I was going on a bus in Kingston. And one woman started singing. And I was like, oh gosh, what's wrong with her? And then everyone else joined in. I was like, okay, all right, I know that song too. All right, let me join in. All right, you would never see anything like that in Ukraine. I mean, it's just kind of viewed weird, like, what are you doing? All right, so this is one of the huge culture shocks for me was in Jamaica, that people are just so open. People can walk in the street and talk, maybe, you know, sing, or like smile at you, say hello. In Ukraine, this is viewed really strange. Like, don't have you had that culture shock experience? Like when you walk, you start smiling at people, and people think, "What do you want from me?"
Yeah, I had it in first year, so I would walk and greet everyone because I was excited. Greet everybody, "Здравствуйте, здравствуйте, здравствуйте," and everyone was looking at me weird, and I couldn't understand why. It wasn't until I saw a YouTube video of a Ukrainian saying taboos in Ukraine that I understood that it's not something that it's appreciated here.
Okay, I gonna, you know what happening? I think you are either in the same room or you're somewhere nearby. So when one of you is talking and the other microphone is not muted, you can hear the echo. So that's why I'm now muting Tarek. Sorry. Okay, On, tell me other things you don't like about Ukraine. Come on, I want to know.
Other things I don't like, starting with school, I don't think it's necessarily a problem of the administration being rude, but in English we have intonation. So when you're saying something, you have different tones with which you say it to make it sound polite. You go to the office at school, and I think the problem as well is they aren't that versed in English. So you go to the office and with a straight face, what you want.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this is because this is a polite way of saying in Russian and Ukrainian. That's how you say it in Russian and Ukrainian, in a polite way. They just translate it directly to Ukraine. You know, like in English, we don't say what. You know, it's viewed as very rude. We say pardon or excuse me, right? But in Ukrainian, when you say what, it's actually polite. Stop. You know, it's like a polite way of asking something. And I remember when I first came to England, everybody thought I was so rude. People were like literally thinking that I was like really rude. And even the host lady who I lived with in England at that time, I was 16 years old. And she said, Irina is so rude. Irina is so rude. You know, and I was like, why am I rude? You know, and that's partly because of the way I was translating from Russian, from Ukrainian into English. And the structure of the sentence is very different. And that's actually when I was teaching English. We'll get to that in a moment, by the way, about teaching English. When I was teaching English, this would be the first thing I'm going to teach, like when giving lessons to Russian speakers or Ukrainian speakers, is that you don't say what when you want to, you know, ask a person to repeat things. Oh, and you teach English.
Yes, I do. I have been teaching.
Tell me about it. Tell us about it. Tell us about it. It's just, I forgot to, you know, add this question in here, but tell us, you work in Ukraine too.
Yeah, so I have been working for the past 2 years teaching English. I teach to an IT company because they have a lot of customers from the US or from England or some English country. It is okay because my students, they are already adults and they know English. But there are some common mistakes that no matter how many times you try to correct them, it's still made. So, for example, when they're going into the past tense, instead of saying walk, it's always walked, talked, spoken. And I realized that it's something that they were taught in school, so it's kind of hard to break. Yesterday, when you called me, I was at my neighbor's house for her birthday, and she was telling us that in school, the English teacher, because they studied English in school, the English teacher would tell them that one woman, two or more womans. And we had to be correcting them and said there's no such thing as womans. So there's some discrepancies with how they learn English and how they speak English, because even when they speak, they don't have the enunciation that we have. But other than that, teaching English for me, it's joyful. My students are okay.
All right. Okay, fantastic. Where did Tarek go? I saw that his camera disappeared. I don't know what happened. See if he's there, because I can see this is him, but I don't see his camera. Maybe he turned off the camera somehow. Let's see. Tarek, if you can work out what's wrong with your camera and then come back to us. Right. So in the meantime, all right, we're going through. I see that a lot of chat, and there's things going on in the chat, people trying to talk and ask questions. And of course, a lot of questions are negative, but we'll get to that. Don't worry. We'll cover them all. Okay. The next question I do have for you, though, is actually a very positive one. Is what do you miss most about Jamaica? And I would need Tarek's perspective on that too. So if he can come back with, oh yeah, I can see his camera now. Okay, fantastic. So maybe Owen, begin please. Tell me, what do you miss most about Jamaica?
First of all, I miss my friends and family. Secondly, the climate and the food in Jamaica. Apart from the previous question of what I don't like in Ukraine is the food here. So I definitely miss my food. A lot of the meat stuff you can find here, but ground provision, excepting Irish potato, it's really hard to find. A lot of food, no, typical food that we eat, it's not here. Recently,
It's
like
very
I think
different. Food in Ukraine is super different. It's very true. Yes. Mm-hmm. You
I
haven't
think
actually had experience with proper Ukrainian food, but we'll get to food. Yeah. All right. But what you miss? So you miss food, you miss climate. Of course, you miss your family. And I think your father is present in the live stream. Or did I? Because there was someone saying my son. So I wasn't sure if it was just
probably.
a person saying, referring to you. But I think he had the same last name, maybe. I'm not sure. So tell me, what else do you miss about Jamaica?
I miss the beach a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I love swimming. Like I swam in high school, so it was like a part of me. Here the water is different. The water isn't as clear as it is in Jamaica. And then because of the different seasons, you can't go swimming at any time because even though the water outside is still, it's too cold for me.
You can swim from the end of July until the end of August. That's it.
That's 2 months.
Yes. That's right. And if you're lucky. If you're lucky, then yeah. But you know what? My husband, I remember he was swimming even in April when it was snowing, so he was fine. You know, in Ukraine, sometimes people do this in winter, like in February during the baptization celebration thing. They just go and dive into the ice cold freezing water. That's true. Tarek, I want to know your take on this. What do you miss most about Jamaica? Tell me.
So separate to friends and family, I miss my jerk chicken and the beach. That's it.
All right. Okay. That's it.
And breadfruit.
Lifestyle.
I love breadfruit.
Lifestyle.
There isn't anything per se that I particularly miss about lifestyle because I'm basically living the same life I was living.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing
All right.
has really
Okay.
changed.
So there's not much happening.
It's just mainly friends, family, food. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, okay. All right. You know that when we were talking about things you like about Ukraine, I remember when I asked you the first time, I think when I met you, you said something about safety. Like you're not like afraid of walking in the street or something. Tell me about it.
Yeah, because compared to walking, for example, downtown Mobile, downtown Kingston, where you're in halfway street, you have to hold on to your phone and stuff like that. In Ukraine, you walk with a phone, you're tossing it in your hand, you're just going about nonchalantly as you like. No, you're not really thinking of anybody probably running up, trying to grab it or anything like that. So that's the only major difference.
Would you say you feel safer in Ukraine than in Jamaica?
Sometimes,
Definitely.
yes, I do feel much safer.
Owen, what about you? Tell me about your experience with safety. And I mean, have you ever experienced any like criminal activity or anything like that in Ukraine? And how do you feel about that?
Criminal activity, that's a big topic.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Or maybe just about
As it
safety. Like, how do you feel being
as
safe
it
in
relates
Ukraine?
to
Or
safety, because of ignorance, because we don't watch the news or anything, but I feel 100% of the time, 100% safe. We, well, the Jamaican group, the Jamaican diaspora in Kharkiv, like occasional we'll go out to karaoke or we'll go out to have dinner or something, and we'll be out till maybe 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and we don't have any fear of anybody coming to rob us or to steal our stuff. The biggest fear that you would have at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning is a drunken person walking by. But that's about it. You aren't scared. You aren't actively thinking that somebody's going to try and rob you or you need to clutch your handbag or clutch your wallet. But no, not at all.
all right. It's true. You know what? Though on the other hand, what my personal experience, I feel much more safe in Jamaica than in Ukraine. For me personally, maybe it's because I'm a girl. I don't know, but I do feel much safer in Ukraine than when I walk in the evening in Kiev. You know, but it must be. You know, it's very different. Like the perception you have in comparison to the perception I have when I live in Ukraine, for instance, compared to when I live in Jamaica. Now, the thing is, though, what I noticed, one of the culture shocks I had when I came to Jamaica is the fact that nobody smokes cigarettes in Jamaica. It's just not a big thing here. What about Ukraine? Have you noticed people smoking cigarettes everywhere?
Ukraine is like a chimney.
Go on,
It's
Tarek.
like a chimney. You see kids 9, 11 years old buying cigarettes, smoking cigarettes, just walking.
It's true.
They're vaping. It's like it's normal, and their parents are giving them cigarettes and everything. It's really
Well, I
crazy.
wouldn't say parents giving, but I mean, the thing is, we have law in Ukraine that prohibits selling cigarettes to people under 18 years old. Okay, but not all people follow that law. I've seen children buying cigarettes as well. It's. I mean, in general, it's like smoking cigarettes. Nicotine problem in Ukraine is huge, from my perspective, anyway. But I think you've noticed that too, because I don't see. Like, to me, the shock was that nobody smokes cigarettes in Jamaica. I mean, if you see people, it will be really rare. Like, I personally used to be a cigarette smoker, like really heavy smoker, like many Ukrainians. And Jamaica actually helped me quit smoking. And that I'm thankful. You haven't started smoking cigarettes, have you?
I have never smoked a cigarette, and I don't think I ever will.
What about drinking alcohol? That's another thing that I find kind of very different from Jamaica. I don't see a lot of people drinking alcohol in Jamaica compared to like people drinking beer in Ukraine a lot. What do you think? Have you seen people?
In comparison, yeah, I think Ukrainians drink a lot more. So as I said earlier, you'll see persons on the road drunk, and it's not just at 2 a.m. It's like any other day you'll find somebody drunk. You don't have to be looking, you don't have to be searching. There is usually somebody who is drunk. And a few of my teachers have said it's because, especially in winter, it's because of the extreme cold. They're trying to keep warm because alcohol gives you a sense of warmth. But yeah, there are a lot of, I don't know if alcoholic is the correct term, but there are lots of persons who enjoy the use of alcohol.
It's true. No, it's just, you know, in Ukraine, we do have this kind of situation when if it's really sad and bad things going on, you know, in the world and in your life, you have to drink because it should help, you know, and if good things are going on, you have to drink because you have to celebrate, you know, so we have this kind of mentality that is kind of, it's like drinking for Ukrainians is like partying for Jamaicans. You know, like when you're sad in Jamaica, you go party. When you're in good mood, you go party. You know, so in Ukraine it's the same, but except drinking than partying. That's
the good part,
but anyway,
there are a lot of holidays here, and for every holiday there has to be wine, there has to be vodka, and there has to be beer.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Now there is a question: is there a Caribbean community in Ukraine?
I can't say there's a
Maybe
Caribbean
not.
community. I apart from the Jamaicans here, I don't think I know anybody else from the Caribbean area. There's a
I
Jamaican
don't think there
community.
is any Caribbean community anywhere, either in Ukraine or Russia. I don't think so. In former Soviet Union countries, we don't have any Caribbean people. And in the same way,
There's
there
a
is no
Jamaican
Ukrainian
community.
community in Jamaica, by the way. There is no Ukrainian community in Jamaica. So this, like, we don't travel. It's just, and most people in Jamaica don't know much about Ukraine, and most people in Ukraine don't know much about Jamaica. Actually, there was a question in one of the, like, do people think you're Africans?
The sad reality is yes. However, not the Ukrainians. Most persons who think that we are Africans are from Africa. So you'll meet someone and they'll say, "Where are you from?" You're like, "I'm from Jamaica." And they will say, "Oh, where in Africa is that?" And they themselves are from Africa, which I kind of find confusing. Once you say that you're Jamaican to a Ukrainian, they immediately go Bob Marley or
Bob
Weed or
Marley.
Usain Bolt, or
See?
um, more often than not, you'll hear them start singing Jamaica, Jamaica, which nobody in Jamaica knows that song.
Yes. Okay. Like, for people who are not aware, okay, there was a singer called Libertina Laretti. He was actually an Italian singer. I'm not sure, but there was a song that was not about Jamaica. It was about something else. I'm not sure, like about happy life or something. But the beginning of this song went like that, like Jamaica, and it was singing Jamaica, which is in Russian means Jamaica. And all post-Soviet Union countries know this song, but no one else outside of Soviet Union know about that song, including Jamaicans themselves. So this is like, has nothing to do. I don't know why Ukrainians, that's the thing they know. Yeah, but that's true. So there was a question, yes, about the, like, people thinking you're from Africa. I think in most cases, I think people in Ukraine would either think you're students or they would think you're Americans. I think, and a lot of, like, I don't know about Kharkiv, but in Ukraine, for instance, when I lived in Ukraine, when I saw people who obviously look like people of African descent, I would go like, rich guys. Because, you know, only rich foreigners can afford to cut, because Ukrainians, you know, I don't know. Do you have that special treatment? Because you do look very different from 99.9% of population in Ukraine. Tell me, Tarek, tell me, are you treated differently? Like, because, I mean, are you treated like a rich person or a poor person or a student? Like, do you have any, like, special treatment? We'll get to the
So
racism part in a moment, because that's like a big question for everyone.
I've only I've only been treated as a foreigner, not as a rich person or a poor person, just as a foreigner. That's
Okay,
basically
but
it.
it's obvious
Like
you're a foreigner.
sometimes, yeah, I guess in terms of thinking you have money, that would come into play with like taxi drivers. So sometimes you order a cab and they realize that it's a foreigner, they will try to hike up the price by saying, "Oh, no, niet, you can't this long distance, you can't, this is more money. You give me 200 business, I take you. If not, I no, I can't." Something like that. But yeah.
What about you? And, well, have you, like, did you have like a special treatment as a foreigner? Like, people put up the price because you're a foreigner, and, you know, they treat you differently?
I can't say yes and I can't say no. Most of my stuff I buy in the supermarket, which the price there would be standard. So it's not like the cashier can say, "Okay, he's black, obviously a foreigner. I'll charge him 20 grievance extra." A situation did happen though. I went to the market because I usually get my meat from the market, and there was this lady there, and she was very pleasant and talking to us, and she said that she used to work at our university and she left because, no, whatever reason she left. And she was selling beef. When I went to her for to see how much the beef was, I think it was 2 times higher than what other persons were selling the beef for. And I don't know if she hiked up the price because of us, or maybe she's just expensive in general.
No,
That's
it's
fair.
probably because of you. It's probably because of you. It's always like, because they see you're foreigner, that means they can charge you a high price because, as I said, people think you're rich. Because foreigners are
Yeah,
rich. There is this perspective.
I can recall actual one instance. After first year when we are changing apartments, I checked online and I called the agent for a house, and the price listed was maybe like 7,000 hryvnias or 6,000 hryvnias for the house. And when the agent spoke to the homeowner and she realized that it was foreigners, she wanted double the money for it.
Yeah.
And
You say,
she
I
wasn't
think it's
scared
the
to say it.
same.
She just said it.
It's like the kind of treatment I get in Jamaica, to be honest. Exactly the same. When I order something like online or, do something like that, fantastic, everything's good, no problem whatsoever. Once they see my face, the price suddenly goes up. I remember, like with taxi drivers specifically, I remember I was like, when I just came to Jamaica, I'd been there like maybe 2 months or so with my family, right? And we were going from Doctor's Cave Beach, which is in downtown Montego Bay. And Tarek disappeared again. And as I was going from, Doctor's Cave, Montego Bay, I already lived in Jamaica. I knew what the route taxi prices were. So we got a route taxi. So obviously it was like $100 to the house where we were. So, and there were 4 of us, my husband, me, and 2 kids. And even though kids were like $50 each, like for the route taxi. And as we were going, we were supposed to pay $300, which is somewhere like $2.50 US, right? And as we were going, and we were talking during that trip, and we were saying like, look, yes, we're from Ukraine and we've been in Jamaica. We relocated to Jamaica. We'll live here. And the gentleman, the driver, he was all like, yeah, cool. Yeah, so you like it in Jamaica. Brilliant. And as we arrived, I'm giving him like 400 Jamaican dollars, like 100 each, doesn't matter. And he's like, no, give me 2,000. And I'm like, why? Do you know? No, you need to. This is the prices you don't know. And he was like arguing with me, and I was like, and it's exactly the same thing happening in every single country in the world. I think it's like there are some good taxi drivers, definitely, but once a taxi driver who's not a very particularly nice person, sees easy money. Преступник. Your Russian is good. Преступник means criminal. No English. Your Russian is good. Actually, Owen, I heard you speak in Russian. Your Russian is pretty good. All right, getting Tarek back. While we were at it, Owen, how long did it take you to learn Russian? Was it like 3 years? Was it difficult to learn?
It was extremely difficult to learn. I still don't think I'm at the level that I want to be. Like, I really love and appreciate languages, so I would have loved to have mastered Russian. Russian it's really hard.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
It's
extremely
very
difficult.
very different from Roman Germanic languages. That's true. Right. So, okay. Now, Tarek, tell me, please, what do you think about the situation? Let me just push the next question, because I have here, like, what do you think you will miss about Ukraine when you're back in Jamaica? Are you planning to come back to Jamaica, right, guys?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Most
Go on, tell
definitely.
me, Tarek. Tell me what your
Most
plans are.
In terms of my plans, in terms of coming back to Jamaica. So
So you're
once I've
planning to
completed
finish
my
studying
studies,
and
then
then go
I'll
back.
come back, apply to do my, yeah, do my internship and then start working. But in terms of what I'll miss about Ukraine, I'll miss the environment for sure. It's separate to the people at times. It's a very good environment to be in because, as I stated earlier, you have all these spaces, you can do a lot of things and all of that. So things are much more affordable here compared to being back home in Jamaica. For persons who don't usually like eat out or things like that, it's more affordable here. Depending on your taste, you can go to restaurants now and again and have just enjoy yourself and stuff like that. So I will definitely miss that. I'll miss being able to go to the zoo because in Kharkiv we have Feldman Eco Park. It's one of the larger zoos. The other one isn't open at the moment, but it's a really good space. It's free of charge. You have a lot of the diversity inside the zoo is very wide. Um, Coming to the end of summer, they have this thing called the junior ball. I forgot which ball exactly, but where they create different animals based out of this particular flower. I don't remember which flower it is, but they do have this thing, and it's really pretty. So that is one of the other things that I would miss about Ukraine. Yeah,
The variety of a lot of like things in environment, things to do, and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
All right. Well, what about you, Owen?
If I am being frank, I'm going to miss the cheapness because things are really affordable in Ukraine. I remember the first time I came home after being here, I was at the stoplight heading home, and there was this person passing selling tigers, this cheese tricks kind of thing. And when I left Jamaica, tigers was $20, 20 Jamaican dollars. When I came back, I bought two and I gave her $100. And I noticed that she was walking away, and I'm like, "Where's my change?" And she's like, "No, there's no change. It's like $50 for one ticket now." So I'll definitely miss that. Like as Tarek said, if you're the type of person who likes to go out, going out in Ukraine, it's not something that will drain your pocket. You can go out, you can have a good time for a good amount of money. The cost of living, like paying for your telephone bill, your internet bill, it's low. And I think that's something that we'll have to readjust to in Jamaica because the costs in Jamaica are not even a bit, they're a lot higher. Apart from that, I will miss homemade Ukrainian cuisine. Not the ones that you get in the restaurants, but
This is another. We'll get to food, absolutely. This is one of the reasons why you might have had really strange experience with food in Jamaica, in Ukraine, because the whole concept of food in Ukraine is very different from the way it is done in Jamaica, or in fact in many other countries. But Eastern Europe is very different from the rest of the world when it comes to food. But we'll get to that. So you missed the homemade Ukrainian food that was for your Ukrainian family that welcomed you. I see. All right, interesting. Actually, we're getting to this absolutely exciting topic about the cost of living in Ukraine versus Jamaica. Now, this is somewhere where if we had a chart, like now, point for Jamaica, point for Ukraine, point. Now, the cost of living, right? Ukraine would be winning over Jamaica like 100 million times because Ukraine is an incredibly cheap country. Ukrainians would not agree. Ukrainians would go like, no, everything is expensive. And when they say that, I'm like, well, you just haven't been to Jamaica yet, okay? So, you know, like maybe just tell me, how much do you pay for rent? Do you, Tarek, maybe tell me, Tarek, how much do you guys pay for rent? Do you share an apartment?
Yes, we do. So rent is about $200 per month, and this is
200
actually
US dollars,
quite
right?
cheap. It's on the cheaper end, but yeah. So if you live in an apartment, it's usually a bit more expensive, and your rent depends on the area that you live in. So some persons they'll be paying. So like in the center, an apartment which is probably a one-room apartment would be like $300 to $500. So rent depends on where you live. Yeah.
Well, I think the same apartment in Kingston, for example, would be about $1,000 US a month or so, like for like in the center, New Kingston, something like that. What do you think? Somewhere around there.
Possibly,
In Ukraine, it would be like
also we have maybe, but we also have to look at the fact that how Jamaicans rent a house is quite different from how Ukrainians rent a house. In terms of a Ukrainian house, they will say, "Oh, you have two rooms." So Jamaicans are thinking, "Oh, I'll get two rooms and a living room,"
and the
whereas
living room.
it's just a living room that you can, yeah. So it's very different in terms of how they advertise the spaces that you get for it.
Because in Ukraine, we count every single room and we usually have only one bathroom, right? In Jamaica, there is like a British system, actually. It's in Britain, they say 2-bedroom apartment, meaning there are 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. In Ukraine, we don't do that. We just say 3 rooms, It's a 3-room apartment, right? So that's how we do it. And also we always have 1 bathroom. In Jamaica, this was another culture shock for me. People advertising homes like 3 bedroom and 3 bathroom. And I'm like, why do you need 3 bathrooms? I mean, like, what? I can use 1. I mean, why do I need 3? But now, since I live in Jamaica, right, and we have a couple of rooms, and each room has a bathroom, so my kids can use a separate bathroom, right? So when I come to Ukraine and we rent an apartment for our stay, like for like a few weeks, and we only have 1 bathroom to share, I'm like, come on, get out of the toilet. I need my bathroom, you know, so it kind of, you get used to good things. So cost of living, food, tell me how expensive things are in supermarket. Maybe Owen this time.
The cost of things in supermarket, everything is increasing, but it is still a lot cheaper than it is in Jamaica. I personally spend about $50 per month on groceries, and that will last me from the start of the month until the end of the month. And that includes stuff for washing clothes, dishwashing liquid, rice, flour, potatoes, seasonings, ice cream.
Yeah,
It
it's true. It's
covers
true.
basically
How much it costs you? Like
everything.
50 US dollars? Around $50 you spend?
$50.
For more or less a month on supermarket.
Yeah, and it covers everything. Like even some months you'll have food being left over to the next month, and $50 in Jamaica, that's maybe 1 day's grocery.
Depends where you go. Like if I go to the market, I can buy quite a lot of stuff on the market, and it can last me the week. But I do have a video on my channel that talks about how to survive in Jamaica spending only $100 per month. I know how to do it. Yeah, you might want to watch that video when you come back to Jamaica. It's going to help you. Right. Okay, Tarek, what do you like the most about the cheapness of the things in Ukraine?
So I mean, who doesn't like cheapness? So in terms of you're able to buy more things, you're able to experiment more in terms of like food. So for example, you are into seafood, and today you would like to try salmon, tomorrow shrimp. You're able to get these things and not really think about how much you're spending. So you're able to live, not say live, but you're able to enjoy certain types of food that would be more expensive compared to having this back in Jamaica. Yeah. So that is a
That's
good
true.
thing. Another thing to point out, Jamaicans love oxtail. Oxtail is probably like no $2,000 or $1,000 per pound. In Ukraine, the system is a kilogram system, so one kilogram is 2.2 pounds. And you go to the market and you spend 40 hryvnias, which is about $200
Less than
or less than
Jamaican,
200 Jamaican.
200 Jamaican
No,
dollars.
Jamaican dollars. Yeah, about
How much
200 Jamaican dollars for
yeah. It's one and a half US
so one
dollars.
yeah, so that would be the price you're paying for 2 pounds of oxtail compared to Jamaica. So that is
Which is
one of
crazy,
the
isn't it?
good things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The other thing, like when we're talking about the cost of living, what about transportation costs and electricity costs, like the bills and things? The internet costs.
Oh.
Tell me about the internet. Yeah, right.
So
tell me about the internet and electricity.
Internet and telephone, this is what Jamaicans would call dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. Because per month I pay 120 hryvnias, which is about 500 Jamaican dollars or 600 Jamaican dollars for my phone bill,
Yes,
and this
5
gives
US
me
dollars.
6 gigs.
It's about
Yeah,
5
so
US
I
dollars.
get 6 gigs of regular data. I have unlimited access to social media, YouTube. So I don't necessarily touch my data to use these things. And then I have calls. I have about 800 minutes of calls to in and around Ukraine. In terms of internet bill, internet is about another 110 hryvnias. So it's not that bad. Yeah.
Okay, yes, it's true. And the other thing is Ukrainian internet is very fast. At least we have like options, and the internet just flies. Now Jamaica is catching up with this. You know, at least Kingston has a lot of great options for internet now. When I'm talking about Flow and Digicel, and with Digicel, like their line here. But in Ukraine, there are more options, and the internet is super fast. I think it's one of the like fastest connections in the world, and Ukraine kind of beats, well, Russia, Ukraine, and I think a few more like Belarus, they kind of beat in internet speeds even the United States because of the cheapness and how much you can get for it. And that explains why there are so many IT specialists in Ukraine. It's true. Right. Okay. So the internet, the bills, the electricity is pretty cheap in Ukraine compared to Jamaica, because Jamaica is one of the most expensive countries when it comes to electricity. At least that's how I see it. Our gas is expensive in Ukraine. Gas, you know, like cooking gas and the heating.
Surprisingly, yes.
But that's another
because
thing.
there is gas in Ukraine, so it's surprising that gas is actually expensive.
It's because of politics. There is the whole drama about gas in Ukraine, and I was like, Anyway, the next question is about shopping variety of goods in Ukraine versus Jamaica. Tarek already mentioned that there is a bigger variety of like things and to do and see in a way, but that obviously is clear because Ukraine is such a huge country and there are so many, you know, things left. But the mentality, you know, in Ukraine is very different from, you know, like the things you can do in Ukraine and the things people want to do in Ukraine is very different from the things Jamaicans would do. But with this one specifically, the variety of goods, like when in Jamaica, for instance, I sometimes miss the variety of goods I get in huge supermarkets. Like we have them in Ukraine, they're like giant, not mega marts. I'm not even sure what to call them. You know, like Ashan, which is a Russian French company, but they're like giant.
Supermarkets,
giant supermarkets, right? The variety of goods you have in Ukraine, do you use that variety, or do you still look for things that are more like, you know, homey Jamaican things? Come on.
I'm a bit biased. I tend to look for the things that I am familiar with. So it's the same flour, cornmeal, rice, chicken, fish, pork,
is there cornmeal in Ukraine?
Oh yes, there is.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that. Oh my goodness. I've never seen cornmeal until I came to Jamaica. I mean, I never even paid attention to its existence. Yes. You know,
yeah,
but like grechka, if you know what grechka is, it's like a special kind of, in Jamaica, I can't find it. Do you know if there is in Jamaica, like grechka? I've never seen, it's like buckwheat.
At Mega Mart.
No?
Just
buckwheat. It's called buckwheat, but it's not the same. It's different. Yeah. So okay. So you're looking for things that are Jamaican more. What about you, Tarek? Do you also like look for things that are more like remind you of home, or do you try to go for new things?
I kind of like with Owen. It's the same. Just stick to the people that I know. Try to cook like I usually do back home. Yeah. So not to if I do experiment with something new, then it's usually some Ukrainian friend giving me something Ukrainian to try, or if I see something that looks nice in, like, for example, a Kulinichi or somewhere else, then I'll try that, but then usually ends with disappointment.
Well, you know this, actually, I want to go to this topic now about Ukrainian food, because this is like very what you like and what you don't like about Ukrainian food. You see, first I can explain to people who are not aware of the fact. Okay, now in Jamaica, you can actually, not just in Jamaica, in many countries in the world, if you want to like really good food, you go to a restaurant. Like you go to some professionals who cook really good food for you, right? In Ukraine, it's not exactly so, because in Soviet Union times, we only had restaurants for those who are, you know, like in the ministry, like in the the politics and things. Restaurants were not a thing. Instead, we had the thing that we called stalovka. It's like a restaurant with cheap food that is not particularly good quality food, right? And somehow now in the modern world, There are a lot of restaurants in Ukraine, but the ones that serve really good food, that food is not Ukrainian. They would usually serve Italian food, Asian food, any kind of food, but not Ukrainian. Like the quality restaurant that would serve Ukrainian food is kind of difficult to find. And the reason is because no demand. Ukrainians don't want to go to these restaurants because in Ukraine, it's very important to cook at home. And homemade food in Ukraine is a huge thing. And then a woman's worth is often judged by the fact how well she can cook. No, it's true. I don't know if you experienced that. Have you? Yeah, yeah. All right. So, and the kind of, like, for example, borscht, all right, is a Ukrainian national dish, like jerk chicken in Jamaica, or akin saltfish rather. It's like akin saltfish in Jamaica, in Ukraine is borscht, is a national cuisine, right? But every single woman or man cooks, men don't usually cook it, but every single person who cooks borscht in Ukraine has his or her own recipe. It's very different. Like if you try borscht in a restaurant and at your friend's home and at my home, when you come to Jamaica, I'm going to cook one for you, you're going to know that borscht is very different. Have you tried it?
We have, and I can say the best borscht is homemade borscht. The best food overall, it's homemade food.
Yeah,
we had the unfortunate experience in first year where we had classes 6 days a week, like from Monday to Saturday. And one Saturday we're like extremely tired, we didn't want to come home and cook. So we went to a restaurant, and this was in winter. The waiter said he spoke and understood English, so we're like, okay, for starters, we'd like some soup. And he was like, okay, I'll give you soup. And he brought a krushka, which is a cold soup. And a cold soup in winter, it's not good at all. The second thing is we asked him, well, to add to that, it's a milk-based soup, which most Jamaicans would not be accustomed to. We're accustomed to goat head soup or chicken soup or red pea soup. I've never heard before of some soup containing milk and eggs. So for me,
and
it's
that's
strange.
just one recipe of it. This cold soup you're talking about, akroshka, it's cooked by different people in different way. Like my husband's family would cook it with milky substance in it. Like my family would never cook it with milky substance in it. We would cook it with kvass, which is kvass is like a type of drink in Ukraine we have, which is non-alcoholic beer. It has no alcohol.
It's like Malta. It's like
Malta. Yes, except that it's really
diluted Malta.
Yes,
really diluted.
Exactly. Good point. But it has it's sparkling, like really strongly sparkling Malta. So we cook soup with it. It's weird. It's true. It's true. Yeah. So, but there is some food that you like, right, in Ukraine?
Yes, I got to make chiburiki for the first time on Wednesday, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed chiburiki.
Ah, chibureki. Okay. Well, it's a popular food in Ukraine. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
Dalma.
Dalma. Yes, and these are all not Ukrainian foods, are they? They're all Middle Eastern foods that came from Ukraine. Yeah, they're not Ukrainian. They come from like different, like Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia. They come from the Middle Eastern kind of stuff. Ukrainian food is vareniki. Right. So there are different types, some with cabbage and things, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Interesting. What about galuptsi? You tried that, right? Let me see if I have a picture with that. It's just so people. I don't know if people try that. Let me see if you tried it. Let me just share a picture of what it looks like. I guess. Let me share. Galuptsi. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. All right. Have you tried this, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, Tarek. Yeah, it's galuptsi. It's like a thing made
this is usually made from the cabbage leaves.
Right. Yes, that's right. And what about? Let me write it. All right, this one. It's like with red pepper, and it's with like different what's it called? Sweet pepper in Jamaica, as with
Sweet
different.
pepper, and inside is stuffed with rice and meat.
Right. Okay. Let me.
It's delicious as well.
Yes. Okay. This one.
Yeah.
All right, you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. All right. Now it's very popular in Ukraine to cook. Let me just write it like this. I'm writing in Russian language. All right, shashlik, you know that one, right? It's Ukrainian. Well, it's actually, again, it comes from Middle East, but it's super popular in Ukraine. Shashlik. It's like a jerk chicken, except that it's not hot, and it's not chicken. What do you think? Okay, guys, what do you think about shashlik?
Shashlik is good. It's not like what we are used to, because we're used to our meat being well seasoned. Here,
Right.
the shashliks I've had, it's mainly onion, salt, and black pepper, and that's it.
That's because they don't know how to cook it. It should have a lot of coriander in there. It should have. You see, my father was born in Azerbaijan. Okay, Azerbaijan is Middle East. All right, so it was a part of the Soviet Union. So I'm kind of Ukrainian, but not exactly. Kind of, so because my father is from Azerbaijan. But you see, that's the thing. And when he cooks shashlik, it was like the kind of food most Ukrainians don't eat. It's like really, really spicy, like really hot and spicy. This is not typical for Ukraine. So I guess you would miss Jamaican food because it's not spicy in Ukraine. Tarek, what do you think?
Not only because it's not spicy, but in terms of the flavors, they don't necessarily have a lot of flavors from most of the foods that we've had here. Like not just that type of food, but like in terms of baked products, the baked products that they have here, they're also very different. So bread is a very big thing in Jamaica, and like you buy a bread today, and tomorrow Jamaicans say you can take it and stone dog with it because the bread is tough. Like it gets really hard within a day, and it's not really tasty. But like a lot of persons, they tend to opt to buy the American slices because that's more kind of like the Jamaican type of bread that we do have.
All right. So what's happening though? Let me actually. I think I can share this with you. You see, Ukraine. This like different breads, but the one you can see right here is probably the most common. It's known as baton. All right, and it's the kind of baton, yeah, and it's the kind of bread you buy in supermarkets like on a daily basis. But the thing is, though, what's happening is that, of course, Ukraine was the breadbasket of the Soviet Union. And Ukraine is a country that has a lot of, in fact, Ukrainian flag, blue and yellow. The blue means the sky, the yellow means
the wheat.
Right, the wheat, right. So the bread thing in Ukraine is a national thingy. Like if you come to Ukraine, Ukrainians would usually meet you with bread and salt. I'll show you the picture of it. So this is like the Ukrainian tradition of how people do it. I'm gonna show you with karavai, whatever. This is like these two girls, right? And they would hand over the bread and salt kind of thing. It's a traditional thing in Ukraine, and this is like the things we bake. Now the problem is, of course, is that you need to know how to eat this bread. The other thing is there are like maybe 300 different types of bread. And if you don't know what they are, you would be probably buying the type of bread that looks similar to the one we have in Jamaica. That is like cut bread, like the briquettes of bread. Now, this is the last bread you should buy in Ukraine. This is rubbish. Nobody in Ukraine would buy this bread. The only time when we buy it is when we want to make toasts. But toasts are not very popular in Ukraine. I mean, they're becoming popular with young generation, but not, with older ones. So this is the kind of bread we never buy. Instead, we buy baton, but you have to eat it within 2 days. You can't leave it. And the reason is because the Ukrainian bread doesn't have any additives, while Jamaican bread has a lot of chemicals added to it so that it would last for 2 weeks. And in case you're not aware of that, now you are, right? And this is one of the reasons why Jamaican bread, if you take it, and if you, it's like becomes like a sponge, and you can make, you know, like what do you call it? Like clay. You can make things with it. Whereas with Ukrainian bread, it will like just crumble. Right, so it's a completely different type of cooking and the type of materials that are used for cooking. But in Ukraine, we have different types of bread. We have black bread, brown bread, bread with thyme, bread with this and that and that. But you need to know how to eat it. It's like I had a Ukrainian friend who came to Jamaica, and she tried yam just on its own, with no salt, with nothing, right? Boiled yam. She goes like, that doesn't taste like anything. And I'm like, that's because you don't eat it like that. You have to eat it with, I don't know, Akin saltfish. You need to eat it with jerk chicken. You need to eat it with something. You can't just take and eat yam. That doesn't taste like much. Do you know what I mean? So the same in Ukraine, like there is a different, as you've noticed probably in Ukrainian supermarkets, you have these dairy products, like miles of dairy products. I mean, it's like even milk alone would be like 100 brand names. Have you noticed that about the dairy product? Have you tried them?
I unfortunately tried kefir. I went to buy milk and bought kefir
Why did you try kefir?
by accident. And after tasting it, I threw it away. I threw away the entire bottle of kefir. But
You
in
should
the
have tried
supermarkets,
that.
you're right. You're right. There are like a million different milk products, and it's not just like liquid milk, milk products like cheese. There is a huge variety here. Huge variety. In Jamaica, we just have Tasty's cheese or American Craft Singles. That's it. But here you can find everything cheesy.
Yes, cheese is everywhere. Yes, yeah, it's true. Tarek, have you tried any dairy products in Ukraine, like the bad experience Owen had with kefir?
My bad experience would have been with there's this milk product that comes with raisins inside. I thought it was actually ice cream. I don't remember
With
what it's
what?
called.
Raisins, Izum.
There's this
Oh, right.
milk product. It's a bit crummy, and it
Oh,
Izum, the
it's Tvarog. Yes, I know. I know. This is the product I miss the most in Jamaica. We don't have it here in Jamaica. And I really miss that product. Yes, it's called Tvarog. It's actually what happens is the kind of part of the milk that then can be turned into butter. Before it's turned into butter, that's what it is. Like if the milk goes off, that's the thing you get on the top. Yeah. It doesn't sound
like
good,
it.
but actually,
I don't like it.
it's because you don't know how to cook it. You know, there's a joke in Ukraine. They say, "Do you love children?" No. Well, probably you don't know how to cook them. You know, so it's the same kind of joke about this. It's a dark humor in Ukraine. Sorry. Yeah, it's all about knowing how to apply one or the other product. I really can't wait to go to Ukraine, to meet you both guys in Ukraine, take you to Kiev to show you some other part of Ukraine, and give you some, you know, real delicious Ukrainian food to try. And, you know, like the different one from Jamaica, but I think it can be fun. Is there any replacement? Yeah, go on.
One of my friends was asking if you could explain the difference between regular borscht and green borscht.
Oh, yes, I can. All right, these are two completely different stories, okay? These are completely different soups, basically, right? Borscht is cooked with a lot of beetroot and a lot of, it has like the main ingredient is beetroot, basically, apart from the meat, obviously, right? Whereas with the green borscht, the main ingredient are the greens. And by greens, I have no idea actually what the name of it in English. I can tell you what it is. And most people don't know. I'm just trying to type it here. Right, 1 second, because I don't know the word of it in English. But it is nettle. Nettle is a type. Yeah, do you know what it is? It's a type of green plant
herb
that looks like,
irritates the skin.
Yes, right. Look, that's what it is. Okay, it's not weed. YouTube, please. This is not the weed. Okay, that's a different. Because I'm better going to call that. Okay, this is the netto, all right? So this is the kind of thing that Ukrainians use for the green borscht. So it's a very different kind of experience. It reminds me of liquid kalalu. That green borscht.
Almost. The taste is almost the same. The taste is almost the same.
Yes, it's one of the reasons I love kalalu so much. What's it, kalalu or kalalo? I keep messing up the pronunciation.
Kalalu.
Okay, fantastic. People from Ukraine can help me. Thank you, guys. That's fantastic. How to pronounce things. All right, so we're moving on. Okay, let me check and see what's going on here. Yeah, just to finish the topic about Ukrainian bread. Actually, Ukraine has some of the best breads in the world. And the fact that you had no chance to, you haven't had the experience of trying them is just so sad, because bread is one thing that I really miss in Jamaica. Like, I cannot get good bread in Jamaica compared to the kind of bread I can get in Ukraine. Whereas for you, it's completely the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It just makes my head blow like cows. I was like, you know, guys, like the audience, please watch it now. Guys, when I spoke to Owen for the very first time, I was like, sure, I'm going to ask him about bread now. He's probably going to go, like, oh, yes, the bread in Ukraine is amazing. He's like, also, he's like, and I was like, couldn't believe that. It's just such different, completely different perspective, which is amazing, amazing. All right, so now the other question I really liked people gave, it was about what's culturally the same in Ukraine and Jamaica. Do you know anything that's culturally the same? The village, Owen, the village. Tell me about your experience.
So the village would be like Jamaica back in the 1990s. Well, in the country part of Jamaica in the 1990s. So most persons from Jamaica, if you're from the country, you would know that we have a pit toilet, which is like an outside toilet where it's just an erected zinc structure surrounding a hole in the ground where you do your business. In the villages in Ukraine, that to this day, that's exactly how most of the houses are. So it's the pit toilet, and there is running water, but it's not necessarily from the government. It's like a catchment thing. So they have tanks or containers that they create themselves.
Wells. We have wells.
Yes, and there are wells. There are wells close by. So even in my neighborhood, there are a few, I don't know what to call it, like standpipes. It's like this metal structure that comes out of the ground with a handle, and you go, and you pump the water. Yeah. So that. It's culturally the same to Jamaica back in the 1990s, but no.
You probably haven't been to the countryside of Jamaica for a while, have you? I've seen similar, I've seen places like outside toilets in Jamaica, like in the same way they are in Ukraine, like exactly the same way.
Like right now?
Well, yeah, in some places, if you watch Russ Kitchen or Backpacking Simon, he's taking people there. But you really need to try hard to find them in Jamaica. Whereas in Ukraine, they're still spread out a lot in the villages. Yeah, that's true. Tarek, what would you say is culturally the same, more or less the same in Ukraine and Jamaica? Can you think of something? It's very different. These two cultures, like, drastically different, like completely different story. Yeah, I mean, it's probably as difficult for us to get visas into first world countries in Ukraine as it is for Jamaica. That's probably one. Any other thing?
I think the celebration of Easter is more or less the same. Whereas you guys have Pascha here, we have Easter bun, but it's kind of the same, and it's the same mentality that you go to church on Easter and you celebrate the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus. But the only difference would be we have Easter bun and cheese, and they have Pascha with boiled eggs.
Yes, that's right. Pascha, yes. It's the Easter cake. Yeah, that's what we have. You know, guys, I can tell you what's culturally very similar. You see, Ukraine and Jamaica had slightly, different history, but slightly similar pattern. You see, in Jamaica was first, captured by Spanish, then by English, and it was a colony for a very long time. And the local languages were suppressed, and the English language was like kind of pushed. And as a result, there is patois, which is viewed by many Jamaicans as not the kind of language they want to use. It's viewed as inferior and that kind of stuff. In Ukraine, we have a very similar situation from that perspective. Ukraine was first captured by Mongols, then by Lithuanians, then by Russians, then by Polish, then by Russians again. And anyway, and we were like, Russian language was pushed on us, Ukrainian language was viewed as inferior. And we have a Ukrainian patois. It's called Surzik. All right, this is the kind of Surzik, yes. It's the mix of Russian and Ukrainian language, and Polish and Hungarian. So it's like 4 in 1, and that's like, yeah, and you guys might not even notice that, because to you it might sound just like Ukrainian, or you wouldn't be aware of this, but I'm telling you, it's like, it's patois. It's a mix of several languages in one, and people who speak Surzik, that type of language, they kind of frowned upon. And you would see, I noticed while living in Jamaica, the same kind of pattern. Sometimes people would frown upon someone from from community, like somewhere in the countryside, who speaks like very deep patois. People would like, So in Ukraine, it's kind of similar. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it was so much easier for me to be adopted here in Jamaica, because I saw so many similarities from the perspective, from this kind of perspective. I don't know if you guys noticed that, though. It's maybe I'm just thinking like how fluent you are with Russian, also how much time you actually spent studying Ukraine. I don't think you spend that much time studying Ukraine. Mostly studying medicine.
Mm-hmm. Mostly medicine.
Mostly medicine. And you haven't traveled Ukraine much yet, have you?
We have been to Sumy, to Kyiv, and to Lviv, and Dnipro. But it wasn't like touring for any extended period of time. For Kyiv and Lvov, it was a frisbee tournament, so we were only there for the weekend. And after the tournament, we were extremely tired, so we didn't get really to the city.
Okay, all right, I see. All right, so we spoke about like what's culturally different in Ukraine and Jamaica. Well, we actually spoke about what's the same. Well, we tried to compare and see what's the same. Now, what's really different? What's really different? A lot.
One of the things I have noticed, it's in a Jamaican household, the chores usually falls on the younger person, regardless of the person's sex. So, like, after dinner is made, it's usually the children who have to go and wash the dishes or whatever, take out the garbage afterwards. In Ukraine, this rule falls mainly on the woman. And if you offer to help, it is kind of frowned upon because it's the woman's job. Like several times I've offered just to even clear the table, and it was a problem with, I guess it's just cultural difference, and I have to understand that, but that's
it's like old-fashioned, which is still very popular. I don't know, Tarek, have you noticed that there is this kind of attitude that is very different in Ukraine towards women than it is towards women in Jamaica?
Yes, I have, and it's quite strange because not to put my personal view in it, but I think that it should be a shared responsibility. Even if a woman is sick or she's just recovering from some form of sickness, then she has to reassume her responsibilities. She must cook, she must serve her husband, and then she's supposed to clear the table and continue to do everything as if it's normal. So it's quite strange. It was quite strange.
It's true. You see, like one of the reasons, I have a video that talks about 10 reasons why I chose Jamaica. And one of those reasons is the treatment of women. Even though maybe some people don't realize, but Jamaica is one of those countries where women are actually really treated equally. Whichever people might put into this word, all of it corresponds to the situation with women in Jamaica. Well, at least from my perspective, because even when I was in Britain, people would make fun of me driving as a woman, not as much as in Ukraine, But but it would still be this women drivers, that kind of attitude. Whereas in Jamaica, I've never seen anyone giving me these looks or trying to help me to park because I'm a woman. In Ukraine, that always happens. Like when I'm renting a car and I'm like driving and I'm parking, without any struggles, I'm just parking, there would always be some guy who comes to me and starts telling me how to park, or like, just leave, I'm gonna park for you, just go away. It's like, oh, but this is true. Unfortunately, this is very true. And what the experience you had, Owen, in like families where you were trying to help, like to clear up from the table, and the men told you like, no, this is the woman's job.
Yeah.
This is crazy. But I'm telling you, this is not very common among the younger generation, like maybe my generation and younger people starting changing their perspective. But it is true that it is happening still in Ukraine. Actually, this might be a good point also to talk about girls in Ukraine, how different they are from girls in Jamaica. In general, of course, we don't want to go too much into stereotypes, but in general, have you noticed the difference? Owen, tell me, please.
The girls in Ukraine, how do I say it nicely? Initially, they show interest, but as you were explaining to me the other time we spoke, they want the guy to continually pursue them and to always be there, while they are ignoring the guy as a sign of you loving them. Whereas in Jamaica, if
they're playing hard to get.
A girl likes you, they're playing very hard to get. Whereas in Jamaica, if a girl likes you and you like her, that's it. There is no hard to get. You try to build a relationship and to see where it goes from there. But here, it's mostly the guy pursuing, and the girl plays hard to get until she finally yields to the pursuit. And I find it very juvenile. It's
difficult. It's difficult. Tarek, tell me about your experience. Have you had any experience with ladies giving you a hard time?
Yeah, yes, I have. Because they're talking, having a good time, and then oops, she just stops responding to you. It's like she just drops it. And as you had explained, as Owen just said, it is now for you to go ahead and say, okay, what's happening or what's something or whatnot, and then try to pick it up, because it's like with birds. A peacock or another type of bird will come and try to show its feathers and stuff, and then she will ignore until she eventually gives it. But it's culturally different. We're not used to this. If a Jamaican girl doesn't like it, she's like, "Oh, me no not with you," and that's where it is. You don't need to continue pursuing, but they're showing this interest in showing interest, and we're not really aware of all of this.
Yeah, but I find that also there is this very strong kind of attitude in Ukraine that girls, even like younger girls, still, not all of them, of course, but a lot of girls still have this attitude that men has to provide. And in that kind of, with that kind of agenda, that you have to take her to restaurants or to whatever, you have to pay for everything. By the way, this is one of the things.
You have to give her flowers.
Buy flowers, yeah. You have to, do that. And of course, as a result, you have that problem because, of course, if you don't understand that cultural aspect of it, then it's difficult. But then it carries on. And it's not only in Ukraine. There's a similar situation I've noticed in Russia. Like a lot of girls would do that. Again, a lot. It may be wrong to stereotype, but this is like, I'm a very opposite to what most Ukrainian girls are from that kind of perspective. And maybe that's one of the reasons I live in Jamaica. And my husband is actually very opposite from what most men are like in Ukraine. Again, I'm talking about majority, but doesn't mean that everyone is like that. But have you also noticed this kind of, this aspect of Ukrainian girls thinking that man has to pay, you have to provide? You have that?
Yeah, there is a lot of that here. So the girls will always expect that the man, if you're going on a date, the man has to pay for the first date, second date, third date, fourth date, fifth date, sixth date, until death do us part. The man has to pay. And it's a thing here where the women love flowers. That's like I've never seen so many flowers being given in Jamaica. Like every day you will see a guy with a bouquet of flowers going to give whomever and a box of chocolate because it goes hand in hand.
True, that's true. So have you been given a lot of flowers to ladies in Ukraine?
The secret.
It's a secret. All right, Tarek, secret too? there were some guys asking you questions, how to get a Ukrainian girl. Come on. Do you have a secret?
The secret to getting a Ukrainian girl, first of all, do not be Ukrainian. Second of all, you need to know Russian because a lot of them don't speak English. And third of all, you need to have money. Step one,
you know,
2, and 3.
I would have said no, but you're right. Yeah, it's true. It's true. No, it's very common though. It's very common, unfortunately. But there are a lot of amazing Ukrainian girls, like the ones living in Jamaica right now. I know one. No, but really, it's true. There are a lot of really cool girls in Ukraine. Like if you go into something like aviation industry, you'll find them. Maybe some physics and in medicine. By the way, you study in medical institute. Do you have a lot of Ukrainian ladies studying medicine there?
As I said earlier, the Ukrainians study different from us, so we don't really interact.
Oh, really? So you don't even have Ukrainians in your group? You don't have them?
No.
It's only the foreign students.
Only the foreign students.
Okay, this is interesting because when I studied in Ukraine in English, we had foreign students and Ukrainians. I see. Okay, I see. All right. Okay, Tarek is very shy. Come on, tell me about your experience with Ukrainian ladies. Any luck? I assume you both guys are single, by the way. I'm sorry if you have girlfriends in Jamaica and they're watching now like, yeah, go on. I don't know, guys. Are you single? Are you both guys single? I don't know.
The experience, it was a very challenging one because, as I said, you start talking to someone, you think it's progressing somewhere, and then all of a sudden they just stop responding. And this has been something that has it has happened more than once. So I don't know. In some cases where like you have
go on. I just remove myself so we can see you.
In some cases where you are someone who flashes a lot of money, then you're more likely to hold the girls more because they have, to some extent, a materialistic type of view. So that is kind of like something with them. But it's not true for all Ukrainian girls, but for the ones that I've interacted with and those who I've seen with foreigners, it's more along those lines. Yeah.
You see, I even had a question: how to meet a Ukrainian girl for a Jamaican man? But Owen has already answered that question. All right. So first, be a Jamaican. Well, not Ukrainian. Second, speak Russian. And third, have money. I mean, I can.
1, 2, 3.
It's 1, 2, 3. You see. All right.
And
okay. This actually works with Russian girls too. And I even know one Russian girl who it worked with. Anyway, so I just want a lot of audience watching the YouTube channels about Russian girls living in Jamaica would know who I'm talking about. Anyway, so the next topic. Now we're coming to the most amazing topic ever. Everyone wanted to know that. Well, at least a lot of people did. So tell me, how often do you experience racism in Ukraine? Because this is like a big topic. People think that everywhere in the world, you know, Jamaicans treat foreigners so well, you know, no matter anything. But when Jamaicans travel elsewhere, they experience a lot of racism. I'm sure you had some experience too. So who do we start with? Come on, Owen?
Go with Owen.
Owen,
sure.
don't disappear yet. Go on.
Racism here, there is racism, of course. Well, not of course, like it's a good thing or it's expected. But there is racism because Ukraine is predominantly a white country. 99.99999% of the population is white.
There are no black people in
And
Ukraine, exactly.
from what I understand, they aren't accustomed to seeing black persons unless it's like tourists. But
You
as
look
far
totally
as
like an alien, in case you're not realized. You look totally like an alien in Ukraine. You're like foreigner and
you
alien.
stand out, you literally stand out
You stand
because
out
you're
big time,
black
yes.
in a sea of white persons with blue eyes and green eyes, and you're
Imagine
very
if
different.
you were a James Bond trying to hide in Ukraine.
Yeah, but
No.
as far as overt racism, I haven't had a lot of overt racism. It's more covert where in Christmas when they have the big parade for New Year's or for Christmas, a lot of persons will come up to you and ask you, "Can I take a picture with you? Can I take a picture?" And at first, it seems charming, but then when you reach like the 50th person asking, "Can I get a picture?" I am average. I am not extremely handsome. I'm not extremely
You are
ugly.
handsome.
So
No.
there
You
is.
are handsome, Owen. Don't forget that
Thank
too,
you.
right? Okay,
Thank
no,
you.
but it's true. All right. So, but also you look very different. So people want to take a picture with you to be associated with someone who's a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also comes into play, and obviously you look like a foreigner. So that's true.
Obviously. But most of it's just stares. Like persons will see you and they'll just stare at you, especially children. Like they will
Oh, they
stare.
don't understand who you are. Exactly. They don't get a clue.
I've
You,
I've been
Mhm.
on the bus already and I heard this little girl asking her mother, "Mommy, why is he black?" Of course in Russian, but "Mommy, why is he black?" And then she
Yeah.
goes, "Mommy, why is his hair like this?" And
Yeah.
I just looked at her and I smiled. Like there's nothing else I could do.
Yeah. I was when I was a child, right? I obviously never saw a black person. I first saw a black person when I was 15 years old. I mean, in real life, I saw in movies, right? But not in real life. I was 15 and I went to Maldives. And as I was going to Maldives, there were some people joining the flight, and but that was the first time, and I was 15 years old. So well, now in the modern world it's much easier because I'm old, okay? So back in the day when I was a child, it was Soviet Union, so we had no I mean, we would see someone because a lot of African countries were friends to Soviet Union, so black people were viewed as our like allies, whereas the Western Europe and the United States were viewed as our enemies in Soviet Union because of the Cold War. And I'm sure you're aware of that situation. And that's why a lot of people would have positive attitude towards black people in general. But now, because of the news and a lot of things going on, maybe the attitude can be changing, and just people are surprised to see foreigners. But did you actually have anyone attacking you or anyone like saying bad things to you in Ukraine? First, we finish with Owen, and then Tarek can give his as well.
Attacking me, no, definitely not. As I said, I feel like 100% secure. Discrimination, yes. Once I went to the supermarket and I was behind this guy. He had just finished catching some bananas and then he turned around and he offered me the banana, implying that obviously I'm a monkey or some other animal that would want a banana. I didn't know any Russian at the time, so I couldn't have even told him what I wanted to tell him. And he left laughing with his friend, and that was that. Apart from that, I haven't had any overt
How
racist
many years?
experience.
4 years you were in Ukraine, or 5 years?
5 years, since 2016.
5 years, right? So there was one incident like that, but but other than that, you don't experience anything like people treating you differently because there is this attitude in the US or in Britain sometimes, because obviously some part of population is of one race, the other part is of different, so there's mixed population, very heavily mixed population. And in Ukraine, this is very unusual for all Ukrainians to see someone of a different race. And I think a lot of people would just be surprised, but they wouldn't treat you bad or good. I mean, they would just treat you as a person regardless.
Neutral.
Yeah,
So
neutral.
that's one of the things about Ukraine. It's like they don't really care. they'll see you and then they just move right along. It's not their business. And
Mhm.
you'll actually hear them saying it a lot. It's an my problem. And that's it. They don't care about anything.
All
So
right.
they see
Okay.
you,
What
they
about
stare
Tarek?
for a minute and they go.
What about Tarek?
So in terms of overt racism, separate to that one incident in a supermarket with the guy who had the bananas, I can't really say I've really had overt racism as an experience, but there have been several incidences where, like for example, you as a foreigner, you're doing something and a Ukrainian is doing the same thing. Someone might come and say something to you about it, but then they won't say anything to about they won't say anything about it to the Ukrainian. So you will be the one being attacked compared to the Ukrainian, and you're doing the same thing at the exact same time. So in terms of that, separate to that, racism isn't something that I can say that I really experience here.
Can you have you been to other European countries or
Yes,
like in the US and stuff? Is it different, like from the racism point of view? Have you experienced any racism, like in the US, for instance, or in Britain?
I've experienced racism in the US several years ago where I was called a nigger once. I think I was in
Really?
Alabama. Yeah. I think I was in Alabama. I was called a nigger. Yeah. But I didn't pay, I think it was just some random stupid teen at the time, so
Yeah,
I didn't really
sometimes.
pay much attention to it. Yeah.
But I mean, from my experience, right, it's like living in different countries. I noticed that in general, because there are no black people in Ukraine, the racism as such doesn't push. You know, maybe if there were more black people and there was some, you know, in Ukraine we have huge problem between Eastern Ukrainians and Western Ukrainians, and they like kind of clash in their ideologies and things. And this is the kind of fight Ukrainians are fighting. And as a result, we don't, because we're kind of 99.9% people, all Ukrainians, you know, no, well, actually, it's not true. There are some Tatar people, you know, and from other countries, but like from other cultures, rather. But it's pretty much all the same. So interesting, because there were a lot of questions like, are you mistreated in Ukraine? Do people treat you bad in Ukraine? I don't. I saw one of the videos that was made by an African American, who came to Kiev, and he was and he was actually shocked that he was treated in such a nice way. But again, I don't. You know, it's very different from when you just travel as a tourist and people want your money, or you know, when you live. Yeah, it's kind of, that's why I wasn't sure what it's really like, you know, because I only know what it's like to be a minority in predominantly country with mostly black people, like I am now in Jamaica. All right, so I do have very different I mean, I did experience racism in Jamaica twice towards me, but both times it was coming once from an American, well, it's Jamaican, who spent most of his life in the US, and the other time it was coming from a lady who spent most of her life in Canada and came to Jamaica. So this was really weird, but never from Jamaicans who live in Jamaica. This is like really strange. But yeah, so I was also interested to know your perspective on this. So this is interesting. So let me just check a few questions. Or actually, yes, so Beverly is asking this question. Have I experienced racism in Jamaica? Yeah, so it was twice, but none of the times from Jamaicans. Actually, until I built this YouTube channel, I didn't even know there was a problem in Jamaica. And actually, I don't think there, you know, because some started leaving really mean comments, like, you know, but other than that, yeah. There is a question. I would love to know the ethnic groups in the Ukraine. Thank you for this question. It's mostly Ukrainians, some Russians and Tatar, some Hungarians and Polish and Jewish. These are like the major ones, but with like 90% between Russians and Ukrainians being like the main ethnic group. I'm not so much aware. Do you guys know? Because I have no idea. Like the ethnic groups in Ukraine. Any idea? Yeah. I can tell you about ethnic groups in Jamaica.
I can't say accurately to a point, but most persons here would be Ukrainian or from Russian descent.
All right. Okay. All right. So this pretty much this topic, because everybody was interested so much in it. So my question, what you are planning to do once you finish your studies in Ukraine? Tarek, come on.
Pack my bags and go.
You're going back to Mobile?
Yeah.
Doing
so
what?
once
What
I'm
do you?
through, that's it for me in Ukraine. Maybe I'll come back to visit in the future, but that's it. Going back home.
Okay. All right. What are you going to do in Jamaica once you come back? Work as a doctor?
So I'll apply to start my internship, and then hopefully, all being well, I'll be working as a doctor in one of the hospitals back home. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I see. What about you, On?
What I have planned and what will happen are two different things. Ideally, I would like to fall in love and get married to a Ukrainian. Have her come back to Jamaica with me, of course, and have some beautiful children. But we don't know how that will go. Definitely, once I'm finished
Are you
studying,
working
I
on it
will.
though?
I'm working on it. Fingers crossed. I'm working on it.
All right.
Definitely, once I'm finished, I will be back home, complete my internship, and then start working to serve my country.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. That's brilliant. I have one more question. And before we finish off, would you encourage other young Jamaicans to give Ukraine a try? Come on. Owen, you can start.
Personally, it's a touchy topic because depending on the person, especially a young Jamaican, if he or she isn't grounded and knows him or herself, then going anywhere abroad, you can get lost, much less going halfway across the world. It's so easy to get lost, especially in a country where you will not know the language immediately. It will take you a good while to learn Russian or Ukrainian. Um, you won't get the necessary help that you need. Like in first year, if I wanted to get somewhere, I literally had to Google Translate, show the phone screen to someone and say, can you read this, please? Because most persons don't speak English. The system, again, is not what we're accustomed to in Jamaica. So if the person isn't malleable, isn't easy to change, then it's best for them to stay in Jamaica. I personally would not encourage someone, but if someone has questions, I would definitely guide them on how to come here. Definitely.
I actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna leave maybe your contacts or something. How people who want maybe to come and study in Ukraine or like experience different lifestyle and different culture, maybe they can contact you and you can help them with that. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's obviously. What about you, Tarek? Would you encourage other young Jamaicans to give Ukraine a try, maybe study there or?
Encourage. I would not go out to encourage, but if it is that you do have an interest, then I would help to provide guidance on how to manipulate the system, not manipulate the system, but how to maneuver through the system, what to expect, and that, kind of give some form of encouragement. Ensure that the major advice is to ensure that you know yourself and be grounded in your principles. And if you have a goal set, then you need to ensure that you continue on the path towards that goal and don't stray based on whatever little glitter you might find along the way. That's basically it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right now, before we finish off, I would like to ask the people watching this live stream to give us a like if you like the live stream, because I haven't mentioned this a single time, and I'm actually haven't been interacting as much with the comment section as I would love to. But I was trying to interview two people at once, and I hope this stream came out really interesting, and that a lot of people who might be watching this stream afterwards would really enjoy it as well. That is, if YouTube doesn't block this stream because of the word Tarek said. Yeah.
The word.
Yes. So now YouTube is going to go, aha! Right. So I would have to explain YouTube. It wasn't in a bad context. I don't know. We'll see. we'll see. Yes, and we'll see how it goes. But in general, though, the thing I'm wondering, you are in the house right now, right? Is it raining outside?
Fortunately, no, but tomorrow
Fortunately, no.
It's predicted to rain tomorrow.
I'm just wondering if you can show your garden, Owen. Do you think you can go
If
outside? But wait. Let's say bye from, because I'm gonna turn off Tarek so that we can do full screen, so Owen can show a little bit outside of his house. Tarek, thank you so much for joining the stream. It's so much, I'm so much happy. Let me just turn off Owen for a minute. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for being able to join this. I wasn't sure if you were going to able to join until the very last moment, and I'm so happy you were able, because it's so great. To actually have the chance to have two people on the stream, that was like super awesome. And you're also from Montego Bay, my dear town. Your microphone is off, so if you can just turn it on, so I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm happy to have been able to share in this moment as well, and it was really good. It was a very good show, so hope to meet you as well. And thank you for,
yes, absolutely. We're gonna meet up, definitely, you and Owen, either in Ukraine or Jamaica, whoever gets there first, wherever. Yeah, we're definitely gonna meet up and have a borscht, and that could work. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Tarek. Thank you for being on this stream. You could say bye to everyone, because I'm gonna turn you off and get Owen on to show the house outside.
Okay.
Thank you so much. До свидания. Thank you. До побачення. All right. So, Owen, in your national Ukrainian shirt, let's see if your internet's gonna allow you to go outside and show what's been outside. Yes, let's see. All right. Okay, it's still light, even though it's what, 7 p.m.? No, 8 p.m. Sound of the, oh no, your internet is disappearing. Oh no, your internet's disappeared. I think, I don't know, not sure. Let me see. Yeah, I think his internet doesn't work outside. Should do though, should do. And I see that people are writing comments. Let me write to Owen in one of the, you got cut off. Let me just see when Owen's gonna come back, and hopefully he will be able to do it, because I really want to see what it's like outside now. I'm not sure about you guys. I was planning the stream to go for at least 2 hours. I'm happy that it's 2 hours and we managed to cover all the questions. And I'm so happy for so many people who were present in the chat and managed to support us for this stream. All right, Owen is writing to me now in WhatsApp saying that the internet failed. Yeah, I'm gonna laugh at this, because Ukraine has very good internet, as I mentioned earlier, right? But let's see, see if you can get it back. All right, so let's see if Owen's gonna be able to get it back, because I want to see what it's like outside. Whoever is late or saw only a part of the stream that is at the very end, and don't worry, you'd be able to rewatch it. Hopefully, YouTube's not going to block it because of the controversial subjects we were talking about and because of some words we used. But we're going to see, and if YouTube decides that it's not appropriate, we're going to try to, tell YouTube that everything is good. Now, what else? Right, yeah, I'm still waiting for Owen to see if he'd be able to get his internet outside. Okay, he's getting connected. Come on, man. Come on, you can do it. Come on, you can do it.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Come on, man. Come on. Okay. Just go outside and tell us what you see.
So let me turn my camera. So
no, come on, get it back.
This is my little garden. I have planted here. I don't know if you can see it clearly. I have planted tomatoes. Here is an okra plant. There is hot pepper, sweet pepper, pak choy. and callaloo, but the callaloo is really small now, so you can't really see it. This is my backyard. That's an apple tree over there and another one over there. Closer to the wall over there, you have strawberries growing, and that's about it. This is my backyard. This is where I'm living in Ukraine.
All right. I think it's amazing the fact that, you know, true Jamaican, you just started off the yard, you got a house, you got everything in there. Amazing.
Oh, and this is a Melina tree. What's Melina?
Melina, raspberry. It's raspberry. Something that
raspberry tree.
Yeah, it's like a box of 5 raspberries in Jamaica is like 3,000 Jamaican dollars, like $25 US for a little box. Now you have the whole bush there. Let me remove myself to show up, but it's true. Look. No, that's wrong image. Wait, not the wrong bush. Let me see. All right, tell us more. Tell us more. What else are you growing there? It's always evening. I can see it's 8 p.m. in Ukraine now, and it's
8
spring.
p.m. and you can see it's still sunny. Well, the sun is setting.
Yes, nice, isn't it?
It's really
Look
nice.
at that. Yeah, Ukrainian soil is pretty good for growing things.
It's
really awesome.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. It's really awesome, isn't it? Yeah. It's brilliant, man. Okay, let's see you again so that you can say bye to everyone in the stream. And so if you can flip your camera and let's see if you can see the man, the typical Ukrainian man in a Ukrainian shirt in a Ukrainian garden with a Ukrainian house at the back. You're looking fantastic, man. I just love the way. Thank you so much, Owen. It's such huge thanks from me and from this project and from this channel. I'm so appreciate the fact that you managed to find the time and you came on time and you did everything like super. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate, and I hope I'm gonna see you in real life one day, either in Jamaica or in Ukraine.
The pleasure is all mine, Irina. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I enjoy watching your videos on YouTube. Keep on doing a good job.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So I wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, Owen.
Спасибо. Пока.
Спасибо, пока. Дякую. До побачення. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the stream. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I did. And I tried to ask all the questions, no matter how controversial they might be or how strange they might be and so on. I tried not to interrupt guys during the stream, but because of the delays, you know, I'm in Jamaica, they're in Ukraine, and you are somewhere else watching this stream, of course there can be delay, and as a result sometimes I could see that my voice would go over their voice, which is weird. But this is my first attempt running a stream with someone else joining the stream, but I hope it went well, and I'm just so happy. It was actually Owen who found me on YouTube and contacted me, and we just spoke, and I was like, oh my goodness, I spent 2 years trying to find someone in Ukraine who has experience living in Ukraine to be able to present their point of view on my channel. And I wanted it to be the live stream, so, you know, no thing's going to be cut out. So this is what we have. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm going to read your comments once again once this stream is over, and it's going to be uploaded on YouTube. Hopefully it's not going to get blocked. And yes, I can see the questions. Yes, I'm going to try to get Instagram pages from the guys or some form of contact, and I will add these contact details for Owen and Tarek in the description of this video. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic evening, day, or morning, wherever you are. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.